Hi, Ben. Thanks so much for joining the podcast. Before we dive into your experiences at Liulishuo and how you built this great company, we'd like to learn a little bit more about you first. It seems that you grew up in China, went to school in China, and then eventually to the US as well, and you worked there for a number of years before coming back. Can you tell us a little bit more about that experience before Liulishuo?
Oh, thanks, Adam. Thank you for inviting me. Great to be here to share the story about our company and a little bit about myself as well. I do grew up in China, specifically in Shanghai, and I went to my undergraduate in Shanghai Jiaoteng University in the computer science department ACM class. And after graduate from college, I went to University of Arizona for actually initially for my PhD program. But 1 year into the program, I figured out that I probably I probably was not that suitable for the program. So basically, I quit the program and joined a startup in New York City. So there's a very interesting separation line. Like before my full-time job after the graduate program, it's all in the big company. Like I was interned in Microsoft Research Asia when I was in college, and I interned in Bank of America when I was a student in Arizona. But right after the college, I just had the interest to see how a startups would work, especially building something from scratch. So before I went back to China, I worked in two startups in the States. The first one was in New York. When I joined, there were 7 people. The whole experience was very fun. The founder had a very successful exit before, and he started the second one. So the whole team was very diverse. You know, it's New York City, right? I remember when I left the company, there are around 35 people, but from 15 countries. So it's a very diverse environment, and everybody work very hard. It's very fun, and of course, New York City was fun. And after New York City, I went to Quantcast in San Francisco. It's a big data based advertising company, right? It's basically help the marketers to optimize their advertisement, especially digital ads. So I also experienced a very interesting period in Quantcast. That when I first arrived there were only 60, 70 people there. The company would be around for 4 or 5 years without any revenue stream. The only thing they did is that they had a tool to help their website to analyze their traffic. But by having that tool alone, the company was able to accumulate a lot of data, a lot of the web traffic data. So during my time in Quantcast, with the help from a lot of the business team and together with our technology team, they figured out a way to monetize the data the company accumulated for the past 4 or 5 years. And when I left, the company was about 150 or 160 people, and start to show the steady revenue stream by optimizing digital ads for a lot of marketers like BMW, Toyota, and the MasterCard, the Visa card, these kind of companies. So the decision I made to go back China in 2011. Honestly, when I look back, I didn't think too much. So I just at that time I've been working for almost 4 years in 2 startups, and and also I had a very close friend and colleague in both companies. So he and I just talk about when you are in San Francisco, in Silicon Valley, you just talk about starting up something all the time, right? So 2011 was just a time I saw, although I was in States, I saw China was growing a lot. There's a lot of news coming out of China about the social media, about all these startups, all the companies. So it just we had an eager to do something on our own, especially with a friend, and we just made a decision, say we should do it, right? We should, and China was such a big market, and as a Chinese, I think I may have a better shot there.
Mm-hmm.
So all in all, so it took me only 1 month from having the idea of going back to China to do a startup to actually landing my feet on the ground. So it's a quite a big surprise for my parents. They didn't expect me to go back to China only after 5 years in the States. So
Right.
yeah. Anyways, that's pretty much the story before. And of course, 2011, after I went back to China, 2011, I started a company by myself, doing a very geeky thing like a personal search engine. But the technology was very hard, but the user needs was very low. So by early 2012, we decided to shut down the shop. And right out, a little bit after, I took some time off. And basically summer and autumn of 2012, I started a company, this company, Liulishuo, right now called LAIX, together with the other two co-founders, Yi and Hui. That's pretty much my story before Liulishuo, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks for that. Thanks for that, Ben. Seems like some very formative experiences in the US and startups, and then back to China. Things just move really, really fast. So I'd love to learn a little bit more about Liulishuo. I mean, I know you have earnings calling like a month or two months time, so we can leave out a lot of the figures. But just for our audience, can you tell us a little bit more about the product itself? So what is Liulishuo? What does it do? What are some of the AI features that's so well known for?
Yeah, would love to talk about that. Liulishuo, right now our corporate name is called LAIX, LAIX. Right now at this moment, I think we are world's leading AI plus education company. So, and at this moment, our focus is still on language learning, specifically on English learning.
Mm-hmm.
We develop a lot of the in-house AI technology to enable what we call AI teacher to actually teach students to learn English in a more efficient and effective way.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically what right now we are offering to most of the users. So at this moment, we still focus a lot on the language learning and English learning. Our flagship app, 英语流利说 in China, have accumulated over 97 million registered users. And
wow, okay.
yeah. And for the past 30 months, that's 30 past 3 months was the period for our monetization period. For the past 30 months, we also accumulated more than 1 million paid customers.
Okay.
So the technology we have in-house, specifically AI-related technology, is very, when I talk about it, it's actually very natural. So think about what a human teacher can do, right? Where a human teacher wants to teach someone what he or she should do. So the first thing that the human teachers, they need to be able to listen, right? They need to be able to listen to the students. That's why we develop our in-house automatic speech recognition technology, ASR, which we call.
Mm-hmm.
And for the ASR part, at this moment, we probably have the largest audio database for Chinese speaking English, right? So with that data we have, we probably have, in terms of the ASR technology to recognize Chinese accent to English speaking, we're probably the number one in the world, right?
Mm.
So after the human teacher listen, right? After they know what you speak, they need to understand what you speak, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then comes with the technology like natural language processing, right? NLP, or some people call NLU, right? So for machine, it's basically the ASR translates the audio data to text, right? And
right.
For the NLU and NLP, it's to understand what the text says, right? So that's also where we develop in-house. And after all this, I listen, I understand what you say. The teacher needs to be able to process the information and give the students feedback. And oftentimes, if the teacher is able to understand the students' ability and the students' progress, they should be able to recommend the best content, curriculum, or the best paths for the students to learn, right? Then this involves a technology well known in the education world or online education world is called adaptive learning, right?
Mm-hmm.
So basically, the system is able to adaptively recommend the suitable content to the students. Depends on the student's level. So that's actually a way. It's just basically like a dream for a lot of the educators, basically trying to scale the so-called personalized learning, right?
Mm-hmm.
So with adaptive adaptive learning technology, there's a path to that. It's basically for every single person. There's the content, the way of learning, the path of learning is 100% adaptive to you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So and of course the user, of course the teachers need to give the feedback, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we also have something like TTS, right? So basically mimic the whole process of the whole behavior of a human teacher, right? Right, listen, understand, think, and give feedback, right?
Mm-hmm.
So feedback is basically TTS, right? So
Right.
like talk like a machine talks like a teacher, give you feedback. So that's some of the in-house technology we are working on related to the AI part, especially after I explaining that compare with a human teacher. I think it's probably will make it very natural for you to understand why we do this, right? So.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, thanks for that. That makes sense. And yeah, let's compare the Liulishuo product and offering to traditional solutions. So I mean, basically an AI-powered teacher versus, let's say, I guess, an in-person teacher. I mean, like what comes to mind for me is that oftentimes when you're trying to do a one-on-one session with people in person, it's quite expensive, not only in terms of the per hour cost, but also maybe, kind of getting to that place, getting to a cafe or whatever it is to actually converse with that person. I mean, like in China, there's so many different types of ways to learn, whether it's English or other types of subjects. But like the concept of AI teacher makes a lot of sense. But why does it make it so much better than existing ways to learn English that incentivizes so many people to pay $150 per year to pay for this subscription?
Yeah, yeah, that's a very good question. So, language learning, as well as other education subjects, a very interesting thing we observe is that the user behavior takes time to change, which means a lot of the different models coexist at the
Right.
same time, right? Not like in the other area of the internet, like social media, social network, even ride sharing, right? It's very rare several models coexist at the same time. But education is a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
So in China, even globally, language learning is always an area a lot of the company and the product and the technologists trying to tackle. So,
Right.
I want to compare us to a lot of the online education provider, right? Because if we compare us with a lot of offline education provider, there will be a lot of difference, right? For example, the offline education provider, the students need to go to a physical location, right? They need to travel, take time, especially in like big cities, China, the traffic sucks. So let's just compare us with a lot of the online education provider,
Okay.
especially with those online education providers still leverage a lot of the human teachers, right? The human one-on-one tutorings or even one-on-many tutorings.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the key differentiation between us and them, that I think cost is definitely a very important thing, because our solution is purely a AI teacher, or you can say purely a software-based solution, right?
Right.
So the marginal cost for us to serve the content and serve the curriculum to our extra students is low. I mean, close to zero, right? It's just switching a bit in the system.
Right.
So that's why we are able to offer a very cost-efficient or affordable pricing for the customer. And second is about the scalability. So human teacher, especially a lot of the good human teachers, they are really, really good.
Right.
So I think if compare our solution right now to the top 1% of the human English teachers, I think we still have some work to do, right? But unfortunately that not all the teachers, right, is as good as those 1%, top 1% teachers, right?
Yeah.
So when you try to scale a business, when you have a lot of the students, which means you're gonna have a lot of the supply of the human teachers, it's very, very difficult to control the quality.
Mm-hmm.
The quality control becomes I can say a nightmare, right? So
right.
how can you make sure every single student on your platform matches with a good teacher, right? That's gonna affect their user behavior. That's gonna affect the user customer experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
As well as the customer's study efficiency and effectiveness, right? But our software solution, right? Like the good thing is like it's consistent, right?
Yeah.
So once it's programmed, once it's running on the cloud, it's consistent and it's quite predictable.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's definitely a very big advantage. So the third one is that although a lot of the consumers at this moment, I think, still have the doubt, right? As I explained earlier, because the human behavior towards education or even other subjects like healthcare, their consumer behavior changes slowly, right? Because both education and healthcare are quite high stake consumption decision, like purchase decision, right? It's not a very easy decision for consumer to make. Even with that, we have been constantly doing third-party experiments or third-party study about our software solution compared to other solutions, how effective and how efficient our solution is.
Mm-hmm.
So we did a study in 2016, and we just did another study with a much larger student pool in late 2018. So the 2018 report was not official released yet, but the initial data we saw in 2018 report was consistent with the report we cited a lot back in 2016. Is that students using our software solution is able to achieve both the learning effectiveness and the learning efficiency. They are able to improve their English in a much efficient way.
Got it.
So with that, the 3 points I mentioned, I think that it's this makes us very different. This differentiates with a lot of the existing providers.
Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah, it's quite obvious the value creation here, and it seems to me, right, like it's kind of to your point, you're raising the baseline of teachers. That's what technology, education technology products can offer, because I guess the ability of teachers varies quite a bit, and then additionally, you're improving the accessibility of many of these teachers by this so-called, I guess, AI teacher. Especially in China, there's multiple tiers of cities, first tier, second tier, all the way through sixth tier. And certainly you don't have great teachers in all these different places. So definitely see the value of that. And in terms of building this type of product, again, this AI-powered English teacher, what does it take to build it? Is it mostly on the technology side, having really great machine learning and AI science, deep learning and AI scientists? Is it around having really great educators who understand kind of the student needs, things like that? How do you build this product in the first instance?
That's actually a very good question, especially during I think we are still in the hype of this wave of artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
So we are a little bit different in terms of among all the other AI companies, especially in China. In China, at this moment, most of the AI companies, other than those driverless car companies,
Yeah.
most of them are even with those driverless car companies. Most of them they are to B company, right? They are building a technology solution and sales to a lot of the customers needs it, right? And for example, there are a lot of NLU companies, NLP companies sells their customer service solution to a lot of the consumer companies, right?
Yeah.
But we are very different. That we are a direct to consumer company.
Yeah. Right.
So, so for us, I think the core AI technology, is very important. But for our consumer, when they use it, they don't really care about the technology within it, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So a successful consumer product like us needs more than the technology itself, right? It needs, especially for when we talk about education app, the content is very important.
Right.
Curriculum is very important. So I mentioned a little bit before, right? So our company is about like 6 years history, right? But our the monetization, the scalable monetization have only been like 30 months, right? So what happened the other 30, 40 months, right? So we had the technology before. So why the monetization start, especially the being a scalable monetization start way late, right? Later. The key event is that we realized around the late 2014 and early 2015 how important a systematic curriculum is. That's the time when we start building our in-house curriculum team to build the systematic content within our company.
Right.
So I think at this moment, for us, the technology, the content, of course, as well as the product, they all have share in the success we have right now. And of course, as a consumer product, you need to be able to do user growth, right? You need to be able to know how to grow the user base, right? Like a lot of the we know like growth hacking, things like that. You need that as well, right? So I think right now at this moment, there's it's basically a lot of the facts contribute to the success, but of course, in the center of all that is the product, right? No matter what other skills you have right now, but if the product is not good, that's not going to be sustainable. So, so the product itself, of course, is a combination of the like design, technology, and the content. And the key strengths we have right now, we know how to mix the content with the technology. Basically, what we have in the technology, how we build it into the content, and also how to use the technology to make the content much better and make the content much like vivid, stuff like that. So yeah, it's a mix of things. I think technology is definitely very important, but I think as a consumer company, it's very rare that a consumer internet company wins just by having the technology. Very rare.
Yeah, those are really good examples. Makes a lot of sense. I mean, I can't think of many consumer companies that leverage AI so well and build a great product around it. I mean, most of the news you hear are about like Waymo or cruise automation and any other self-driving car companies. So certainly quite interesting. And given that you have this AI right now, so again, it's built on your existing database. Obviously, the algorithms are improving and getting better and better. I mean, given your current foundation when it comes to the AI piece, have you thought about expanding to other education markets? So let's say beyond learning English, but I don't know whether mathematics, other types of subject categories.
That's a very good question. I think actually, honestly, there are already a lot of other companies are doing that. So I'm not sure if it's in a good way or in a bad way, but especially after our IPO, a lot of the folks, when they pitch their idea, they will like say, we are the Liulishuo in which subject. so from our end, I think language learning, especially English learning, is a very big market. For the short period, for the next 1 or 2 years, I think it's still going to be our focus. So in terms of the other subjects like math, physics, or a lot of people right now talk about the popular thing like a programming, right? Programming classes for kids. I think we constantly look towards that, and also when we build a lot of the in-house infrastructure, like our content system, or a lot of the in-house technology component, we try to make it generic enough so that in the future it is able to applicable to other areas. But as I said, as a company, in the short term, a year or two, I think it was still going to be largely a language learning company. Yeah.
Got it.
It's a big enough market, and I think we still have a lot to do to make our product more attractive or more useful for the user.
Yeah. Makes sense. And it's really interesting how the English learning market's so big in China. I feel like most folks globally don't really realize that. But in China, it's just everyone very much wants to learn English. I think, back in the day, if you were able to speak English, I think your salary was like 2 times higher automatically. And even these days, although China is growing really fast, kind of the most popular international language is still English. So there's a great demand for that. And especially when you have, with the one-child policy, you have, like, for a child, you have like your parents, and then you have your grandparents on your mom's side, your grandparents on your father's side, right? Like, everyone's kind of supporting a one child, and so much money has been spent on education. A big share of that is actually on English learning. Just felt like that was quite interesting.
Yeah. The China is definitely one of the top spender in language learning.
Yeah, and on that point, when it comes to the willingness to pay, and also just consumer behavior when it comes to paying for subscriptions in particular, I think China is known for being, like, historically a country that pirates a lot of content or software, things like that. It seems to be changing a little bit. When I look at the universe of consumer products, there's things like Yodao or Ximileya, et cetera, where people are actually paying for content, paying for courses online, listening to content. People in the US don't really pay for that, because when you think about podcasting, even what we're doing right now, it's all free, right? Potentially good for PR and marketing, or for general knowledge sharing. But could you tell us a little bit more about consumer subscription behavior in China?
Yeah, I think that behavior changed a lot for the past several years. I think there are, I can say just actually only one fact plays that thing is the mobile payment. So originally I want to say 2 things: is that mobile and payment. But I probably would just say mobile payment, because of course the mobile phone is the first step, because the mobile makes everybody is able to own a computer, right? So in the PC world, there are only a few people in China own a PC, right? And so the mobile definitely makes the internet available to a much larger portion of the population, pretty much like everyone. So, and the mobile payment, the payment on the phone, for the past several years with WeChat and Alipay, also makes available to a lot of people, like especially like the both WeChat and Alipay has the red pocket, right? Hongbao, right?
Right.
So the red pocket thing even is able to allow a lot of the old generation even able to have money in their WeChat wallet or Alipay wallet, right? Even they don't like link their credit card or link their debit card with their WeChat or Alipay account, they still be able to have money in the wallet through the red pocket.
Right.
That basically opens up like there's basically way more population able to pay something on a mobile phone.
Right.
So that's definitely a very, very, very important fact.
Yep.
And the macro trend, of course, plays a very important role as well. Is that the government is definitely very serious at cracking down a lot of the pirated content. They are promoting a lot of the intellectual property, promoting original content through text to audio to video, like movies and stuff like that. And also, in general, the population is getting richer and richer, right? They have much more and more dispensable income.
Right.
So this macro trend and also the population of the mobile payment, I think it plays a very important role. I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also, because you asked a question about like specifically about those podcasting, right? I think one thing that because the people in China they all concentrating in a lot of big cities, right? So the traffic and especially taking subways and the commute, I think makes the consumer behavior a bit different. They have a lot of time to kill or to spend on those podcasting, right?
Yes.
So I think that changed the dynamics a little bit as well. So
yeah,
there are still a lot of the free podcast and free audio content as well, even in Himalaya, I believe. But people are start to like willing to pay premium content. So I think they will listen to free content as well, but they will listen to premium content. Of course, like a lot of strategy for those companies is that if you listen to free content, you're probably gonna listen to ads, like Spotify, right?
Yep.
So people kind of, I kind of hate it. It's only like maybe 15 RMB or 20 RMB per month. Why not, right?
Yep.
So
no, those are good points. I mean, also the interesting about paid content in China is that it's really high quality. Kind of to your point about Liulishuo, it's not just the AI, but also having good understanding of the user and having educators on a team. But for Dedao, for example, they have a really big team that, so like Dedao and Himalaya, like some of these like, I guess, how do you call it, like knowledge sharing apps in China, they have large teams that help edit content that create classes. So it's kind of like 10节课, it's like 10 classes in a row for a podcast. This is not just a conversation between multiple people that's unplanned and unedited. It's actually very high quality, which is pretty interesting. And like, a lot of there's a commission or revenue share that goes to Dedao, obviously, for that effort. And Ben, let's talk a little bit more about your growth strategy. So you mentioned you're focusing on English learning now. It's a really huge market. You're considering a few other educational related markets in China. But what about expanding to other markets abroad? I mean, what countries are you looking at? How do you think about that?
That's a very good question. I think for the product offering we are having right now in China, the main offering is a general English ability product. It's not a test prep content or test prep app. So for this particular app or / content, I think it has a much larger audience globally as well.
Right.
So I think a lot of the countries have, especially the people there, have a very similar need to improve their English. So why English is, I have a theory internally that because, like probably before the World War II or World War I, right, the Great Britain pretty much colonized the whole world, right? So, and right. After World War II, the United States definitely has a very large impact or power over the world economics and the culture. So that's why English gradually becomes the language for international collaboration, international trade, or international meetings, right? Like most of the top conference or even tech conference, it's in English, right? The papers are written in English, right? So,
Right.
so that's why I think a lot of the countries have the very similar need to improve their English, because if they wanted to do more international trade, if they want to make their life better, if they want to be able to uh, benefit more from this globalization trend, they need to be able to talk to the people outside. So I think English learning is definitely a very generic need across the board. We are definitely looking for a lot of other developing countries similar to China or similar to China 5 or 10 years ago, right? So we definitely looking into like Southeast Asia, South Asia, like particularly India, or other like Latin America region as well. So,
Yep.
so for us to better understand those markets and to pick several markets to start is gonna be our focus for the global expansion. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, and perhaps we can cover some more of those details on a future conversation as well. I know we're running a bit short on time. I just want to ask you a few more quick questions. One is, we're just thinking, right? Like you have an excellent English learning app for China and for potentially for a global market. What about building a Chinese learning app for a US market?
Very, very good question. So for this question, I think my answer is more very personal answer. I think this answer doesn't represent the company
Yep.
because even internally we have a lot of the debate, a lot of the discussions. This topic comes up from time to time.
Yeah.
So my personal opinion on this is that when you are a startup talking to people in the States, especially in the both coasts, like West Coast and East Coast, you always have the idea of like people in the States really want to learn Chinese.
Right.
But my personal opinion is that it's only represent the elites in both coasts.
Yeah.
Because China is such important player right now in the world, the trade and the business and everything, right? So it's very natural for them to want to learn Chinese to understand the China better for a lot of reasons. But I think for the majority of the population in the States, I don't think the Chinese learning or Chinese is the language they want to learn. Like we also have data from other language app players who are doing pretty well in the States. I think Spanish probably is the language
Right.
for a lot of the Americans to learn. So
Right.
my personal opinion that, and also plus that I also had a friend who started a Chinese learning app in the States before actually, but quite a while, like 5-6 years, even now. So he told me about the horrible stories and horrible, like basically misjudge the whole user consumer needs and consumer behavior. So my personal opinion right now, I think it's still too early. So there's a niche market in the States right now, but it's definitely not like a huge market.
Yeah.
It's definitely not like like English learning in China, like this kind of stage. So
Right. Makes sense. Yeah. I mean, to your point, right, if these are the elites who are trying to learn and have their kids learn it, and they're probably pretty wealthy as well. And to your point earlier, like having the best, if you have access to the best teachers or tutors and mentors and you can pay for them, then like a lot of times that's probably the most effective way to learn. So if it's a pretty small population that's wealthy, there's probably enough Chinese speaking teachers, so to speak, or tutors for them anyhow. So
yeah, totally. Yeah, the value proposition with our approach to them may not be that high. Yeah, that's correct.
yeah. Okay, cool. Well, really excited to see how this plays out long term. I mean, maybe there's a Liulishuo size or like a VIP kid size company in the future that'll be teaching Chinese to other markets around the world. I think love to see that happen. One last question for you, Ben. So you guys IPOed towards the end of 2018. I just wanted to know, like, how have things changed at Liulishuo since?
Honestly, like it doesn't change much after IPO.
Mm.
For a lot of reasons, right? So first of all, like um, we are only, let me see, we are only almost 4 months, right? Almost 4 months after IPO. I think it's still a very early stage for us as a public company. So even the management team and even the whole company, I think are um, still don't really feel that much, or don't think us. You know what I mean? Like when you just became like a public company, it's not like you be a public company for like 3, 5, or 10 years, right? So I
Right.
think for us, we are still like still work very hard, because
Yep.
I think it's just a very it's just a milestone for us.
Right.
Uh,
Right. Not the end.
yeah, it just means like we need to the company needs to run in a more mature way, right? To face the public.
Mhm.
So I think all the employees understand that, especially the middle and high level like management teams. They
Right.
understand we still have a lot of work to do, and stuff like that.
Mm.
And because we are still in the early stage, and honestly, I think we haven't got a lot of the pressure as a public company. I think you probably understand what I mean. So
Yeah.
for us at this moment, it doesn't change much. I think honestly, like from my own side, is that I know um, probably this year we're gonna feel more and more uh, like pressure as a public company. There's always both sides, right? There's always pros and cons, right? The good side is that as a public company, you get a lot of benefits as a public company, but on the other side, you need to you get the pressures from the public investors. So I think it's gonna take some time for us to feel that
Mm.
pressure. I think it's still
Mhm.
too early.
Mm.
So all in all, I think at this moment, truly it doesn't change that much, I think.
Mhm. Mhm. Got it. Got it. Well, it
Yeah.
sounds like you guys still have the entrepreneurial fire and fight to you. So excited to hear that.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yep. All right. Well, hey Ben, thanks so much for your time. And yeah, I learned a lot over the course of this conversation. So look forward to seeing what you guys build out further at Liulishuo and keep in touch.
Yeah, thank you, definitely.
Okay. Bye bye.
Bye bye.